So let's get started. So till now we have gone through how to locate an element, and then we have also automated a basic stuff like login, right? So this was our last class that we already discussed. So I'll just execute it. So what we did was we have navigated to that particular URL and then entered username, password, and clicked on login button. So that that are the steps that till now we have automated it. Can everybody mute themselves if they are not speaking here? So you see, it has entered username, password, clicked on login, and then displayed a message saying invalid credentials. So till now we have done these steps. So if you see, that was what we already decided, right? Our previous steps, if you see in our first class. So we just manually, we wanted to go to this particular page and then do all this stuff. So same thing we have just done using automation, right? Now, the next steps that I would like to tell is, so this we are doing. Let me just copy this class, just create another class. Test case one, let's say. So I'll create a separate class and then I'll close all. No. Automation started. So this we have what the same stuff what we have done executed till now. And after this, let's say we also want to, so in automation we generally just don't write the steps, but it is recommended to have some validation points. So until and unless you validate it by expected and then the actual, here we get in the execution, right? So expected and actual, until and unless we validate it, we won't be able to know if we are doing the stuffs right, correct, right? So in that way, if you see here, when you have entered incorrect username, password, clicked on login, it displays a invalid message. So our test case would also say that. So when you have logged in with incorrect username and password, it should display a message, some kind of wrong or error message, or the is it kind of invalid credentials message. So something or the other it should display. So that we would get it basically from the requirements when we start the testing. Okay, so here let's say our requirement is the same way whatever we are getting in the application. So this is as our expected. So if it is that way, then here we need to verify if we have got invalid credentials message on the screen when we have entered incorrect credentials. So how to verify that? If you see here, just how to inspect it, we already know. So we have done, we have downloaded the other tools as well, right? To inspect, we have done CrowPath and Selectors Hub. So you can use that, or you can use normal inspecting. Just right click on this and then just select this section. So if you see here, uh, this particular message, wherever, whichever particular block or piece of element we want to validate, we just inspect it and then it highlights here, right? So if you see, expand it here, so you would get that message here. So it's in p tag, meaning paragraph tag. So it has this class, and so it is under IE. So if you see this way, you would get error. So this is the login page form, and then this div is orange login error, some error alert has come. So this way the developers has designed it But what we are interested in, we can either take this div, this I is for icon image, that icon, and then this p tag is for your this thing. So here, what we can do is, let's see if this class is unique. So how to identify this if it is unique? Just write the XPath for this. So class should be that. So here /, I know it is p tag, and then @ class is the attribute and the value is this. So if you see this, we are getting 1 of 1, and it is also highlighting that. So this element, now this element holds the message on the page. Now this element, how to verify? So what we have to do is come here. After clicking on login button, we know so first test case is what uh, logging in with incorrect credentials, let's say. So this is login with invalid credentials. So something or the other credentials we give, and then we want to verify it. So after fifth step, the next sixth step would be to verify there would be some error message on the page, and then we need to verify the error message, right? So verify error message, let's say we want to do that way. So it's better to write comments whenever we write some kind of code, or if not for each and every line, at least a particular block of code when you write. So in real time when you are doing it, so uh, yeah, sometimes it's not possible for each and every line to write comments, but at least for a block of code, for a piece of code, whatever you write, kind of when you create a method, so different methods you might create in when you're working in real time, this thing. So there, on top of that method, you can write why you are creating this method, what's the use of that method. So comments, if you write it, someone other than you, whoever is reviewing that code or looking into that code, they would understand for what purpose this particular lines are designed. So that way comments are handy, I would say. So here, how to verify, so just like first locate the element, whatever we know. So driver dot find element is what it gives us the element, and then by dot we are validating, like checking that through XPath, right? So by dot XPath, and our XPath is this one that we have begun, got it. So this is our element. So what we can do is, and any of this driver dot find element, if you see this thing, uh, the other things that you can write it is, if you see, let's say for password, driver dot find element, you have found it through a password and then send keys. The other method, the other way of doing this is, so this, driver dot find element, so this we can separate it. How to separate? So let's say we have not written this send keys, okay, and only this is there. So this statement, what we can do is, we can store this line in some kind of variable, and let's say this is our password element, right? So we can give some kind of name. So password element is what I just want to give that name. But then when we are storing this driver dot find element, what would be the return type? So same way, for whenever we create an variable for any of these things in Java, it obviously asks for what type of variable this particular is, right? For int v, it was giving us, so when we are storing 10 in a variable, we also need to mention the type of that variable is int. Similarly, for a string, we need to say string and then variable name equals to the string value in double quotes. So same way, when we are storing this driver dot find element into something, so we know this element, this driver dot find element, when you mouse over, it would give us this all things. So this element neither has a, so leave that. So this one, it is web element. So basically this particular line of code, it would return us the type, whatever type it returns is of web element. So driver.find element, when we are saying, so it is web element, the type would be web element. So when you see web element, so first time when you write it, you need to import it. So when, from where this web element is coming from, again that Selenium package, if you see org.openqa.selenium, so this is what we want. So click on it, and then a import statement here would be added, web element. So same way other things whatever we have done, so those things. So if this import statement is not there, you see I've removed it and just saved. Let's say this import statements is not there and I've saved. So you see all these error messages we get because Java itself is not able to identify what are these. So for that, what we can do is mouse over, and then one by one you can select this. So this Chrome driver should come from org open qa.selenium, and then web driver it should come from the other what we say, uh, so let me just import it again. So this is coming from here, web driver open qa.selenium, and then duration. Uh, okay, yeah. And then this duration. Wait, what happened? Control Z. I've just imported it again. So this thing is what we have done, right? So here, this web element as well we have imported. So that is when it doesn't throw an error. Now Java understands because it has Selenium library. So through Selenium, it has understand the type of this element is web element, since that is also imported. Next thing, now, so when you do password element, so we know this password elements holds what value, driver.find element till this password. So locating the password element, and then when you say password element dot, so again same thing, driver.find element. After that, if you say dot, you would get same methods, right? Same way we are just doing it in variable and then using it. So what's the usage of this variable or this approach is, again, so let's say same element, if you want to, let's say click or click and then enter. So right, instead of writing driver.find element by .xpath, this thing first dot click, and then driver.find element this thing dot send keys. So writing this statement twice, instead of that, what you can do is driver.find element password thing, you can store it in variable, and then here you can say this dot click, you can write this way, and then again password element dot, so you want to send the keys, so here as well you can send keys, and clear also if you want to do, and if you want to wait or do some other stuff with the same uh, line of code, so this one you can store it in variable and then use those things here. So this is a usage, I would say. So same way, what we want to do on in the password side, we don't want to do this stuff. So password element, we want to send keys, right? Here if you see, so I would say just password element dot send keys of password whatever we are entering. So this way also you can write it, web element, and then that element dot, when you do, you would get that methods. The same way here, for error message, I will define uh, this is what it gives us. Let's say driver.find element, we have found it, and then this thing, we know this would give us error element, right? So we can store it in some, again, variable. I would store this in, let's say, web web element, and then error, this is just element, and message we would get it in different way. So error element, I have stored this, and then how to get the value of this particular like we want this message, right? So invalid credentials, where is this invalid credentials here? If you see, it is in under this p tag, this block, so kind of text, right? So this is inner text, as I said earlier. So when you locate this element, this element's inner text would give us this value, invalid credentials. So that is what we just wanted to verify, let's say. So we know that error element holds the find element path, and then it has found this dot. Here you would have different methods, again, get some attributes, get some value, text, tag name, is selected, something is, if it is selected, that element is selected, is enabled, is displayed, we can use those things. And or yeah, yeah. So we'll go to we want that text, right, inner text, so that's why we use error element dot get text is the method. So it returns what? String in the sense, some a string value it returns us, this particular line of code. So we want this one, and then you can what, uh, so this one, error element dot get text. So if I execute, you see what happens. So basically it should give us that text, right? But here if you closely see, we are not displaying or not storing that error message somewhere. So even if it executes, see, it has done this, and then on the page, code executed, nothing happened. So after fifth step, it has clicked, and then it has moved on to this step. But here we have done something, seems like it is parsed, because since after this something has executed, we know this line has passed, but it is not doing anything, or we have not basically asked something to do. So here we just said get the text, but get that text and display it to us, we haven't said, right? So to display, we use uh, generally what, this system.out.println. So here in this thing, you can either print if you want, just say this print. So we are what are we doing here now? We are just printing that error message. So if you see, it has entered username, password, and then we have got this error, and that's it. So if you see here, what, invalid credentials. So we are getting this from here, right? You see, same thing. So it is now we have got that error message, but here basically we are just displaying it, we are not even checking it for now. Later I would actually tell you about TestNG, the unit test framework. In there I would tell you how we generally add some assertions, how to verify something on the page. So some sort of things, whatever we do, how do we generally verify? For now we are just whatever error, whatever text it has given is what we are just printing it. But this text, if let's say it is displaying invalid credentials, but the requirement was upon giving this different invalid credentials, it should display a message saying the user has entered incorrect details, is what our expected message is. So that message and this message are completely different. Then in this case, what should happen? The test case should fail, saying our expected message was something else, but the displayed message or the actual message that we have got from the application is something else. So this particular test case should fail. But here if you execute this way, it is just displaying and it would execute, and it would say pass, everything is done, executed. But this is not what we wanted, right? So basically whatever expected thing is there, it should match with the actual. So other thing, what I would do is one more step if you want here. So this particular would give us a string value, right? So this I would store in uh, actual error message variable. I'm storing this in this particular variable, actual error message, and that if you want you can print it. So what I'm doing is I'm storing that error message in some variable, and that variable I'm just displaying it here. But apart from displaying, I want to compare. So two strings, if I want to compare, we know in Java we did, right? So how to compare whatever uh, variable we have, that variable dot equals, and then ignore cases if you want, or just equals. So for string we know we need to use equals. For just a number we can use the variable name equal to some value. That we also do, but here our actual error message is of type string. So that's why here we use equals method. So either you want equals or equal ignore case, that's on you. So if you doesn't don't want to validate based on your cases, then you can use ignore case. Else exactly whatever we want, whatever is there in the requirements, same step, if we just want to verify, then use just directly equals, and then here in double quotes write the message that you want. So I want it should be if actual error message is equals invalid credentials were entered. So this was my expected, this is my expected. So this is actual and this is expected, I'm saying. So this one, if it is there, then display on the console saying uh, if this matches, I would say testing passed, I would say. And then else if that doesn't match us, we would say our testing is failed. Testing is failed. So if whatever actual thing would come, so that error message from the application, whatever that application, that text would come, that should be equals to what we are expecting. This is our expected message. So if it is equal, then we would say testing pass. If it is not equal, we would say testing failed. And now if you execute, what would happen? Can someone tell? What message do we get? Testing pass or testing failed?
Invalid username.
Invalid username. No, here only thing is, see, we have executed here, and now if we executed, only thing is comparison. Here in the comparison, in the actual error message, what was the value stored? If you see, actual error message holds a value as invalid credentials, and that invalid credentials we are verifying now, equaling that value with our expected, and this expected, so this value, is it equals to this value? Can someone say if it is equal or not equal? Not equal,
Not
yeah, Rahul.
equal.
So right, obviously, because uh, uh, the actual message that is coming from the application is this format, this word, two words, whereas our expectation was four words, and that too in this format. So something else. So obviously it is different, right? Since it is different, if you say equal, it won't be equal, and then that's why it is going to your else statement, and it is saying testing is failed. So that's why testing is failed displayed. So when it is there, so either you need to change your expected, or if you are sure that your expected is what you want, then in application that value needs to be changed. So in that case you need to tell to the developer saying, okay, this message shouldn't be this one, but our expected was it should display this message. So we can then log a bug defect and saying them there's some incorrect thing you have not developed properly, so you need to recorrect those things. So we can then inform them. So right click, I would execute this in debug mode. So I've put a debugger here. So till this point, so till we get that error, it displays. You see here, switch. So now here, if we see, now we are at this particular point, because till this point we wanted our application to execute. And once it has executed, so what value this actual error message holds? So if you see, actual error message holds invalid credentials. And then invalid credentials, next step is it is about to execute. So if you see, it has just printed whatever we have asked till this step. And then here it is and next line is we are saying if this dot equals this, so actual message is invalid, so this is equals to this invalid or not. So if it is checking, so if this is passed, it would go. If this condition is true, it would go inside this thing and it prints testing passed. But if it is not equals, then it goes to the else statement and it prints this, right? So if we go to the next step, so you see, after execution of this line, it has not executed this one because the condition was not satisfied, was not true. That's why it gone to else statement and it is about to print. Now it has not printed. If we say execute, so it has printed testing is failed. Why testing was failed? Because this error, whatever actual error message we have got and whatever expected error message we have got is different. That's why testing failed is what we wanted to show. That is done. So this is how we just use Java's inbuilt method to equal two particular strings. But in actual real-time scenarios, when we don't do it this way. We do through unit test framework, which is TestNG. That I'm going to tell you in the probably this week. Yeah, some of the basics more on this automation Selenium part. Next week, I would tell you about this TestNG framework. So TestNG and Maven also I just want to focus on after this class. So yeah, for now we just done it a normal way. So if that message is equal, we want to display this. If it is not equal, we want to display this. So in this case, what we have to do, if we want to say testing should be passed, so if we agree, okay, whatever developer has designed and it is as expected, so you can just take this message, come here, change your code from what you were expecting earlier to what we are getting. So if we are expecting this one, then that's it. So execute. Now this time if you execute, we need to get testing as passed, because in the application also we are getting that and we are also expecting the same thing. Right? So if you see here, and one more step here. Okay. So if you see, testing is passed because actual was equals to our expected. So this thing again, we can store this in a particular variable. Instead of this way, you say or before you start only here you would say, okay, expected error message should be this. So we have stored this something in a variable, and then our expected error message we have stored it here, and actual error message equals to, we can say, our expected error message. So expected error message is what, this value. So this way also you can do. And so after our code is executed, let's say we just want to close close the browser. How to close the browser? So here we have driver dot close method to close a browser, and there is quit method as well. So what difference between this close and quit is, so driver dot close would just close let's say when you have launched an application, we have got this particular screen. Meanwhile, if you do something or the other click, this application also some other operations, some other functionalities might open in a different window. Now apart from this, we have also got some other window when we are executing. So if you kind of open naukri.com or something, so you would get multiple windows when you launch one particular URL. So in one window only we won't get all that stuff. So sometimes that depends how developer has designed. If the developer has designed, okay, upon opening this application, it should open 3 or 4 windows at a time, and then that 3 or 4 windows, when it is opened, so driver dot close would just close one window, closes only one window on which we were actually working on which we were working. So it just closes that. But whereas driver dot quit would close all the windows, closes all windows that were opened by our driver. Okay, so driver dot close, if it is one window we can use this way. If there are multiple, we, if you want to close, if you write this step, this would only close one. So in that case we need to write driver dot quit. And generally, for like, if you want, you can use driver dot quit itself. So driver dot quit, if it is one window, it quits one. If it is more than one window, if it would close all those windows. So instead of using driver dot close, you can use driver dot quit, since it closes, if it is one closes, if it is multiple, it closes all those. So this way I don't have to manually again and again close the browser, right? So once it is done, this would close. And other thing that if you can notice, so what else, so here, let's say if you want to just get the title of the page, so title of the page meaning this text, if we just want to display or store that in some variable again. So let's say after opening, when we are in the login page, or let's say after performing this particular step, I want to uh, get the title of the page. So how to get, so driver dot get title is what we can do. So this would, so this statement, if you, this would give us string value, right? Again, I want to store this in title of the page variable. I just want to store this in that variable. So this line, again, what this line would give us, so driver dot get title, so this would give us string value, because title of the page. So where is the title of the page? Here on this page, if you see, this orange HRM is the title. So this title, if you want to display, so different applications, when you open different things, let's say demo web shop. So if I open other website, so you see the title of this page, if you say navigate to this URL and then you get title, if you do get title here, that would give us demo web shop this way. But our orange HRM, this would give this title. So different title, different this thing. So if you want that titles, so you can use this driver dot get title method, and that would give us this title of the page. And that if you want to print or equal, so if again verify if the title is orange HRM only and not the other, so if that is equal, say our title is verified. If it is not there, title is not verified, there is some incorrect thing, please check, we can give those kind of messages as well. So when we are automating it, so here I would say or I would say title of the page, whatever we are getting, or just display that. So here this line would give us the title called orange HRM, and different URL if you do and then get title, it would give whatever the title of the page is. So this one would give us the title, and what else? So if I execute it, and it also closes because we have written close browser. So after performing, you see entered and closed, browser is also closed, and title of the page, so if you see what it is holding value, orange HRM. So that orange HRM, and if you want to compare, put a validation point. So if title is our expected one, then it should say pass or title verified. If it is not, then title is not verified or something is wrong in the title. So we can display those kind of messages, and then manually we can open and check once we design that. So that way, uh, title. So what else we have in this driver dot? When you see, we got title, get current URL. So if you want URL, so at this point of time the URL would be like this thing. So this URL, if you want, you can use driver dot uh, get current URL. So get current URL would give at whichever page you are. So if you say you are in this other page like this way, again, it is giving us same URL only. Yeah, login. So if you get, we would get this URL, and then if something is wrong, then it is giving us different URL, right? No, it is giving same thing. So sometimes different. So here, if you see, we have got this. If you click on register, the URL would be something different. If you click on login, the URL is different. So if you want at any particular point of time you wanted to just get the URL, then you can use driver dot get current URL, and then get page source. So current URL you can do, and then driver dot. So once we have navigated to this URL, after that, so get page source dot, then we can use this contains, but I just don't want to. So page source also, if you want, you can get it, and then get page source in the sense this one, right click, view page source. So complete this thing. If you do, this would return us this thing. So if you want this way, like whole thing, so you can get this code, complete code of any application, just by this method, driver dot get page source. So these are the methods, and other thing. So if you see this checkboxes, again for checkboxes thing, so radio button or text. So for text, when you interact, you would say dot send keys. Action that you perform generally is entering some value, right? So in that case, we use send keys. If you want to click on any button or link, dot click method is what we generally use. Yeah. So buttons, when we click, or links or whatever element is there, if you want to click, dot click is what we use. For checkboxes, we click, right? So same way for checkbox, you identify the path. If this is a checkbox, and then uh, identify this checkbox, input ID is remember me. You can take ID, driver dot find element by dot ID, which is remember me, and or name if you want, take that, and type is checkbox, multiple things if you want, and then value. So all these things, dot. So when you found that element, dot click is a method that you should be using. So for checkbox or for a radio button, if it is there, then we get that same methods we can use, clicks, these things. But let's say if we have a different let's say, where is the application? Yeah, this URL, let's say I'll take this URL for better understanding. So here, this page, if we are automating, let's say here there are few fields wherein we can enter this, and then gender. So we can select gender whatever we want, and then check boxes, and then there is select field. So these things are there, right? So let's automate this particular page. So I'll just copy this, paste it. What is this page? Which one? Some demo register page. Say okay. And then demo register page. What I want is, I don't want all this code. maximize and open URL is there, right? So here, so what URL I want it to open? It should open this register, right? So save this. So this would open this particular page. This would open this particular page, and then in this page, what we want to do, we want to enter this first name, last name, right? So how to do that? Again, identify this locators. How to identify? So right click on this, and then we get input model and class name placeholder. So you have this first name. So how to identify? Let's say uh, the tag is input. We can write input, and then at the rate placeholder was the attribute and the value was this. So if you see this thing, so this input, this is giving us one by one, which means we have identified first name. So same way last name also you can do, and then identify all this stuff, or else in the this thing will identify. We have installed this tool, right? So right click, inspect. So it is our, okay, here this selector sub, and then now I want to inspect this. So once we inspect here, we got this. So relative XPath, we have got class name, we have got, I would use for now just a relative XPath or the CSS selector if you want. So you can take that CSS selector as well. So I'll locate that element using that CSS selector. So how to do that? After opening URL, I want to enter first name, right? So what the syntax would be? Driver dot find element by dot, we are identifying that locator using CSS selector. So by dot CSS selector, and then what is the CSS selector path? It is this one, what we have got from there. And then this dot send keys is a method, since we want to enter something on the application. So here in double quotes, we need to give value. So first name is what? Pradeep, I would say. So this first line of code, what it does, is it enters this first name Pradeep here, and then if you wanted to display on the, like, enter something on the last name, identify this field again, inspect it. So here, so instead of CSS selector, I would take relative XPath, and relative XPath, just check enter and one element matching, so which is the correct one. So take this here, again write the next step. What is that? Driver dot find element by dot, through XPath I want to find, so by dot XPath, and then this path dot again send keys. So last name, I would enter my last name this way, and then last name is entered. Okay, I've entered Dawalji, so Pradeep Dawalji. So what it does, this line of code, it would enter Pradeep here, Dawalji here, and then address field again, inspect. If you want address, you can take this XPath, and if it is one matching, again driver dot find element by dot XPath, this path dot, then address, whatever you want to enter here, you just give it there. The same way email address as well, phone number, or checkbox, radio button. So I would say select this mail checkbox radio button. So right click, inspect, and then we have name radio options. But radio options, if you see name, if you take this, and uh, you would get what? Two elements, which means radio option is also for this one, and radio option is also for this one. So there you would get two elements. And with class name, if you see, you would get three elements. Tag name, input are many again, so we cannot take those particular elements. What we'll do is we'll take only one matching thing, so relative XPath, just XPath. So input at the rate value is mail. So if you inspect here, if you see here, see value is male. So again the other one, for the other one the value would be female. So with this attribute only, it is differentiating whether to go for this or to go for this, right? And so this so I'll take this XPath, come here. So after entering this, let's say I'm entering driver dot find element, py dot through XPath I'm finding it, enter that thing, dot click is a method. So with this click statement, it would enter those values. So if I just say right click, run till this particular point, you see what happens. So it should open browser, navigate to that URL that we have said, and then it should enter first name, last name, and then radio button it should select. You see, it has entered first name, it has entered last name, and it has clicked on this radio button, right? Then some same way checkboxes also, just identify it. So let's say I wanted to select my hobby as cricket. So right click on this checkbox, inspect. So here we, if you see, value is cricket, ID is checkbox 1. So for the next one, the ID would be what, checkbox 2. So you can take ID as well. Seems like it is unique. If it is not, again through this selectors hub plugin, you can see here dynamic uncheck. So you see, if this is also giving us, so when you say this checkbox 2, checkbox 1, so it is giving some kind of warning here saying ID looks like dynamic. Uncheck checkbox or delete the ID attribute, generate relative without ID. So this one is also kind of giving us warning saying the ID contains a number, and when it is number, so it is suspecting that this value, when you again reload, so ID earlier was checkbox 2, next time it can be checkbox 2 or it can be some checkbox 3, 800, some other number, some kind of dynamic. That's why that warning. So if you are sure it won't be changing, then you can take this whole XPath. If you are not, then again instead of taking ID, take some other attribute like type is checkbox, value is movie. So instead of that, you can take value as movie. So I don't want to take ID, let's say. We can take that as well, but we know that wouldn't change, but still we are writing a different XPath. So here input at the rate value, I know value is movies. So if I enter, yeah, one element found. And then this XPath you can take. So I wanted to do for cricket. I'll say what the value is, cricket, right? Copy this cricket here, paste it, enter, see one element matching, copy this, come here. So my next line, I would say what, driver dot find element by dot XPath. Here I want to select the value radio and click is the same method. So here you can write comments if for your understanding this, you are entering first name, entering last name, entering, selecting gender, and then here selecting cricket checkbox, those things. So what it would do after execution, it would just click this that way. Next thing, let's say if you want to select the skills. So skills is what, now again select type. So if you see here, if you see skills, right click, inspect. So this is what, select field. Now other than this text box and radio button, this thing select is again a different one. So what we don't enter any value here, right? Or we don't click something. So in this selecting, we generally select some value from this. So let's say I want to select software. Okay, so how to select software from through our code? First thing is what we have to do, we have to inspect, right click, inspect that button, and then here if you see ID is skills, you can take this ID, or from here it gives some XPaths, or here ID since we can see id is unique, so we can take this id thing as unique. Come here. Here what you have to do, for since it is a select field, so there is the approach is kind of bit different, I would say, other than here for entering some text to a text box field, driver dot find element we used to do, and dot send keys. So for click, driver dot find element dot click, but for select it is not that way. So for select what we have to do is, first we will find that element. So by driver dot find element, so listen this carefully because this is a bit different than other elements. So driver dot find element by dot xpath, let's say, or no, I don't want to find through xpath, we have id, right? So driver by dot id, and then id of that element is skills. So this is our element. We are not doing anything, we just find an element. We have asked this thing to find an element, so it is identified. Now here this thing, we will store this in a web element, let's say another variable, just a variable. So I would say this is skills element, some a proper name, that's why I'm giving it kind of this one. Anything you can give, variable name of your own choice. So I'm giving skills element here, and then we know that element dot when you do, you can is displayed, is enabled, is selected, some that it is selected or not we want to see, but we don't have any method dot is select this thing right here. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to create an object, same just like our object creation, you already know, right? So we have to create of a class object. So which class object we want to create? Class called select. So there is something in that library called select class. With that particular class help only, we would be able to select this kind of fields. So if you see the type, the anchor tag of that field is select. So for those particular select, and then we would have all these options. So for those particular kind of elements only, this select would work. So we need to create select class object, and then give any name. Object creation, class is select, object I would say o select, I would say, equals to new select. So this is what, first we have to create object. And if you see import statements, we would get from two things. So we want from ui, let's say, let's take that from ui, and then this select method accepts this constructor, it is constructor, this accepts some parameter, and what that parameter is, so it is kind of pointing which element do you want to select is what we have to send it. So this select method, if you see, add argument to match select of web element, so it is expecting some web element here, and our web element is what, driver dot find element by dot skills, right? So this skill element we have, so that element we give it here. So if you see now this line, it doesn't throw error. So this line you need to create for select web element. So select o select equals to new, I've created an object, and we have that object name is o select. So I will take that object name, and when I say dot, I would get all the what is that, non-static variables access, right? So if you, what all methods are present here, static, deselect by value equals class, get first selected option, get options of all options if you want, we can get that, and is multiple, notify, select by index, select by value, select by visible text, all these methods we have. So what do we want to select here? If you see, we want to select which particular skill, as I said, software is what we are expecting. So here in this thing, if you see all that are there in options tag, we have what, or java, if you want java you can select, or software you can select. So all these are options, different options. I want to select from this software. So exactly as it is, whatever they have written, we just have to copy paste it. Else if you write something on your own, if that option matches, it would take. If it doesn't matches, then it won't take that. So if you see software is here, I'll take this software, copy it. So select dot select is the method. Select by what? Index, by value, by visible text. So we have these three options. Index is what? So if you see index, it says select by index. Index is nothing but by a number. And what position? So if you see this select tag, where is that? Yeah, if you see this select tag, so we don't know at what position it is. So if you say index of 0, so it would select first one. It would say 1, so it would select next one. So this way, so index of 2, if I do select index by 2, so it selects some index value. So I would execute. I'll show you that. Just selecting by index. For now, we are selecting something. So it has entered and it has selected Adobe Photoshop, right? So the index was 2 for that particular element. Why 2? This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So that's why it is selecting. So the same way index, if you say again, you don't know software is at what index, right? So that way, if you give index, this is not a proper one. So this also you can select, but I don't want to select by index. I want to select by generally manually. How we do? By something called text, right? Visible, whatever is visible on our eye. So on the web page. So same thing. So by value also we can select, or by visible text. By value is what? Here if you see value, this value is what they are expecting. So by value, if you want, this software would be something different than this. So it's not obvious, like mandatory that it should be same. So by select by value, when you say, you are selecting based on this. But select by visible text is what? Whatever text is visible on this particular thing, so is what we are expecting. So I would select that by visible text. So by value also you can text, by visible text also. I will take visible text, whatever is visible. So what is visible? I'm saying, okay, I don't want this. I want to select it by, the text was software, right? I can take this software, select by visible text. That's it. So if I now execute it, it should select that field, software field under that skills. You see, skills as software. Same thing for country. Now if you have the other thing, so date of birth, you can select, give that value 19 say 1990, something like this. Here month January if you want to select, or June you want to select. So create object kind of this way, select or select, and then this. So again, yeah, you this might be something new. Again, if you want, tomorrow I'll focus more on this. So for now, yeah, whatever we have done. So anyone has any doubts till now, whatever we have gone through? No. Okay then. So if no one has any doubts, then we are good to close. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. So we'll see tomorrow.